So today we are going to see about the history of the C language. This is a last part of creating a sound foundation, right? So when we learn anything, okay, if we peep into the history, then it helps us to create a future, right? So C has got very interesting history. Uh, Around 1958, I don't know whether you have heard this language or not, but Algol was the language, right? Around 1958. Okay. Basically, before that, Fortran was the language. You might have heard if it is taught in the college, but Fortran. When I was doing engineering, we were having Fortran as a subject in our second year, right? Second year, and again next semester we were having C language. Way back, I'm talking about way back in 1987, right? So at that time we have learned Fortran. It was basically for engineering purpose, but Fortran was the language on which Algol was based. Okay, so Algol language was based on Fortran language. The Algol comes from the algorithm, right? That's why the name was given as Algol. Whereas Fortran is a word derived from formula translation, right? So formulas are basically in our engineering, mathematics, and all these things. Okay, other subjects of engineering. So from that, the name of Fortran was derived. Formula translation. Okay, after 2 years, after 2 years Algot could not didn't become too much popular. So 1960, uh, uh, University of Cambridge and London research was going on in the University of Cambridge and London, and Christopher Strachey, okay, was the computer scientist who developed the language CPL. What we call it is a it stands for Common Programming Language, right? Basically he was trying to develop a language because Fortran was again specific for the engineering applications only. Algol didn't become popular, so he wanted some language which can be used as a uh, general purpose language. So that is the reason he gave the name as CPL, Common Programming Language, right? But again, CPL was having limitations. Though Christopher intended to make it his general purpose, he could not make it. Okay, so again in the same university, the research was going on for almost for next 6 years, and Martin Richards, okay, he added uh, many features in the CPL itself, uh, and he gave the name as BCPL. That's all. Okay, so he just attached the word B. Okay, behind that CPL, and the new language was into the market. It was the BCPL again in the same university, and the scientist was the Martin Richards. Right. Uh, After 2 years, around 1969, okay, AT&T Bell Labs, okay, you might have heard, okay, one of the recognized lab, okay, exclusively for computer and software and programming language research. Okay, still it exists. Okay, one of the wonderful office in the US. So AT&T in the AT&T Bay Labs, there was a software engineer Ken Thompson. He developed the language again. He was impressed by that BCPL, but BCPL was again application dependent. Certain kind of applications could be developed along with the BCPL, and some issues along with kind of a networking related issues were not possible in that. uh, so he added something new, okay, and he removed weak features of that language, okay. So he added something and he removed something, okay, and that's why he stripped out rest of the characters, that is the CPL, and he gave the name as B. Okay, so very interesting uh, uh, history, and just look at this development from different perspective. Okay, in India, when a bridge is built, right, they give the name of some politician or somebody. Okay, but I wonder these engineers in the US or in the Europe, they never ever gave their own name. Okay, they were not too much interested in name. Okay, so there was a CPL, then there was a BCPL, then CPL was stripped off. They gave the name as B. Okay, and then there was a birth of C language. Uh, Around 1972, okay, Martin Richards' colleague, okay, Dennis Ritchie, he was working in the AT&T Bell Labs, and he was what you can say, he was a Superman, you can say, of a computer industry. He revolutionized the world completely, changed the world. uh, he wanted a language not only as a general purpose, but he wanted language to be used to interact along with the hardware, right? And he got the success in that. Somewhere around 19 the development went on between 1969 and 1972, but he was a very humble and very like a common person. He was a very humble scientist, and he never tried to become or to come in the limelight, never ever, till he died. Okay, till he died, he just got a single award. Okay, that is it was a popular award, it is called a Turing award. But in his lifetime, you are a young engineers, okay, in early what you can say, uh, probably late 20s, okay, you might be 20, 21 or 19-year old. So, one thing we should learn from Dennis Ritchie, and that is what I like, and I have been telling my each student for last 20 years. Uh, One peculiar characteristics of Dennis Ritchie is that he uh, he joined AT&T Bell Labs, okay, somewhere around 1965, okay, and he never quit that company, okay, in his lifetime, okay. So he was so loyal along with his company, because when he developed a language like C, he must have got numerous offers from software giants in the industry like Microsoft or Intel, no? A lot of HP, a lot of companies were there in the US, but he never quit that job. He never quit his cabin as well. The cabin he developed that language, invented that language. Okay, one more colleague was there. Okay, so both of them developed this language, and he never quit the job. Okay, what I want to tell you, when you become an engineer, when you get the job, okay, try to stick to that company. Okay, loyalty pays. Okay, but it takes some time. Okay, so that is my advice. Okay, it is up to you. Okay, students, many times students, I find students jumping from one company to another, just matter of 5 or 10,000 rupees increment. But this is how Denis Ritchie became a legend. What you can say, legend. Okay. So why C became popular? Even AT&T Bell Labs didn't publish the language officially. So it just no, it came out and people start liking it, and people all over the started using it, and automatically it became popular throughout the world. So what were the reasons? First of all, it was reliable. Okay, so when a programmer writes a program, okay, that he should get a confidence. Yes, the language is reliable. Got my point? So language is C language was. Uh, if somebody wants to speak, but okay, I will let you speak at the end of the because okay, Guru, I will let you speak at the end of the session, right? Then it was simple. Okay, the language was simple, but simple doesn't mean simple to learn. Okay, simplicity as far as language is concerned is different story altogether. Okay, uh, its syntaxes are simple. Programs are not simple. Its syntaxes are simple. Okay, so it is different. Try to understand that. No doubt it was a versatile language. Why? Because you can develop application, not only application, but you are able to develop any kind of application. Okay? And then programmer was able to write a system software. That is the reason Unix operating system, complete Unix operating system, okay, very complex operating system of the world. It has been millions of lines of code is there. It is a open source, and it was written in C language, right? Uh, uh, it is termed as a platform independent. This it is not just don't correlate this platform independence along with the Java language. Java's platform independence is quite large and quite special. Okay, it is the C is not that much special in that, but still if you have got a Windows operating system, at least okay, variety of versions, the C program written on one Windows operating, at least it runs on another Windows version. Okay, so in that case, it is a platform independent. It is easily portable. Okay, so if platform is changed, okay, not much. Not much changes need to be made for porting that program into another platform. Okay, so it is easily portable, and last, it is general purpose. Okay, no doubt it is a general purpose, and that's why it became very popular. Okay, fine. What was his journey? First of all, it it was it became popular, okay, only because default language of Unix, and Unix has got enormous flavors. Okay, many versions of Unix are there. A lot of companies are there who create plugins for the Unix. Okay, and basically Unix is preferred operating system for server side rather than the client side. Okay, so all giant servers in the world, they have got Unix operating system. Okay, uh, um, as far as India is concerned, we our use as far as Unix is concerned was very limited. Now it has increased. Okay, servers have got that. India also huge servers have got that, but outside India, people were preferring Unix over the Windows. Okay, and that's why the C became popular. Okay, uh, almost it is 50 years old. 1972. Okay, so after next couple of years, the language is been 50 years old, and see the power of C language. Um, Many languages have come and died in last 50 years. Many languages have come, okay, and people do not remember their names as well, okay. When I did my diploma in advanced computing from the CDAC, okay, we were having something like I do not think, just see that, do not remember the name of that developer 2000 something was there. But so it didn't even lot of languages. I didn't now remember their names. And at that time, those were popular. Even Visual Basic was the like no Python. Currently, Python has got the hype. Okay, most hyped language is Python. Okay, I don't know the future of Python, but I'm correlating VB along with the Python only because VB was so popular. Okay, between 1998 and somewhere around 2010. Okay, for 12 years, everybody was learning Visual Basic. Software, each software was being developed in VG. What is the current position? People have forgotten absolutely about the Visual Basic. Okay, so that is how, and that's why the C stands apart from the rest of the languages, my friends. Okay, this is the de facto standard of assembly language. Yesterday I told you, I talked about the assembly language. And what is the meaning of de facto? It is not official standard. Okay, officially never, it is not written anywhere that assembly level language. Okay, they will take the help of C. Okay, but it is a unofficial. That's why it is a de facto standard, and uh, recognized, appreciated from all over the world, right? So when we are going to learn C language, okay, tomorrow we will write our first program. So what is basically the what we are going to learn in the first chapter? Okay, this first chapter. Okay, so learning path, we will try to understand. We will try not to learn only. We will try to understand the grammar part of language. Why? Because uh, that is how actually we learn any new language other than mother tongue. Okay, when we learn, you might be having your own mother tongue, as some of them might be Marathi, some of them, one person might be Hindi, or no, Tamil, or Telugu, or Maithili, okay, or Bengali. Okay, so that is a mother tongue. As far as mother tongue is concerned, we never learn grammar. Okay, we directly speak that because by birth we listen all those words and sentences and everything. Okay, but whenever you learn any new language, uh, uh, like English, suppose, okay, or tomorrow suppose you plan to learn Japanese or German language. Okay, many engineers learn one or two languages. Okay, so that they can travel to Germany or Japan. So a lot of engineers learn Japanese or German. So in that case, they first learn the grammar because that grammar is very important for writing correct uh, sentence. Okay, or uh, what is the paragraph or something kind of, right? So we will try to understand what are data types, what are variables. Okay, you might be knowing all these things. Okay, but I am going to teach from the different angles. So when I'm going to teach this, you will understand many different concepts. Okay, so it is, we are going to discuss about the data types, variables, what are the constants. Okay, um, constants are basically there are broad categories. There's a primary constant and secondary constants, right? Uh, Usually, each language has got primary and secondary constant. So, like no integer, character, float, double. These are primary constants. Okay, primary constants are also called as the primitive constants. Okay, or built-in constants. Okay, these are primary. So integer, character, float, double, these are primary constants of C language, whereas another is the secondary constant. So pointer is a secondary constant in C language. Okay? What I mean, pointer is not a data type. You have to create that pointer, okay, using primitive data type. That's why it is a secondary data type. I'm going to talk detail about this. So pointer, then structure, right? Array, string. These are uh, secondary data type, right? Structure basically is a secondary data type, but it should be said as a user defined data type. Okay, so secondary data types have got another name as a derived data type because these are derived from primary constants, right? So there won't be an array as a keyword in C language. Okay, you will create an array of integers. That's why you call it in the derived data type. Structure instead of derived, though it is a derived data type, the correct nomenclature for that is user defined data type, right? Okay, we'll have going to have a detailed discussion about each of these things. Okay, I'm just touching each of that. Then what are tokens? Tokens are basically not taught. Okay, I mean, what is the meaning of that tokens is not usually taught. Okay, so going to talk about the tokens. What are expressions? Okay, people do not know what is declaration of variable and what is expression. Okay, so some confusion is there. Okay, expression is something different. Okay, um, um, uh, what are the control structure? Various control structures are there. This it will become a part of our second, third, and fourth chapter. So decision control structure is there. Then loop control structure is there. Switch case control structure is there. And other than this, sequential control structure is there. So in the first chapter, we will use the sequential control structure when each statement of the C program is executed. Okay, fine. Okay, even though I tell you a lot of things, okay, and you may forget some of these. Okay, my that course I'm going to give you, it will help you to retain everything. Okay, so you can refresh again and again and again. Okay, fine. So what are statements? There is a difference between expression and statements, right? What are the flowcharts? Okay, engineers, they as a part of their journal, I know. Okay, most of the students copy flowchart from one friend to another. Okay, and year after year all these flowcharts are getting copied. Okay, I have been observing this for since the year 2000. I have been teaching in engineering colleges as a guest faculty, and I observe this silently. Okay, usually students copy that flowchart. Okay, I don't know why, but they copy. Okay, probably they do not understand. They do not understand only because they are not taught properly. Okay, what is the algorithm? Okay, and what are the pseudocode? So we are going to discuss about this, but this is a learning path of overview of C language, right? Then how what is that roadmap? Okay, so C language, any language like English, we have got A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, Hindi, there are Bengali, there might be any Kannada language, there are. So each language, okay, has got a character set. Similarly, C has got character set, all right? So C has got, I mean, it has got character set means what does it mean? It means that whichever defined in that character set, it is going to be part of C language program, right? So capital A to capital Z, small a to small z, right? digits 0 to 9, and special characters. But not all special characters are allowed. Okay, for example, the at sign. Okay, it is not allowed. Okay, in C language, dollar sign, it is not allowed. But Dennis Ritchie intelligently tried to use all those characters. Okay, so characters are alphabets, digits, and special characters, right? He tries to use almost all characters available on the keyboard and gave give proper meaning so that programming becomes easier. Okay, and you will observe almost all languages. Okay, after C language. Okay, what we call it is the all successor of C. They followed the same pattern. They didn't change that because they liked the pattern. So as far as array is concerned, you will find the same character set in Python, Java, and everywhere. Okay? That is how C became popular. Then the next part is constants, variables, and keywords. Why? Because when you learn English language, first of all, you learn alphabets, and then next stage you try to be you try to form a word. You try to learn a word like bat, right? cat, like that. So you are taking C from the alphabet, then A, then T, and you form the word, and you try to correlate word, what is the meaning of that, for which object that word is used, like that. Okay. So similarly in C, we think about constants, variable, and keywords. So as I told you, constants, there are uh, this thing, primary and secondary I discussed. But as far as first chapter is concerned, we are going to discuss about the primitive constant. So there is the integer, character, and float. Now, all these integer, character, and float constants, huh? uh, basically these are called data types, right? So you need to tell to the compiler, okay, that what kind of constant I'm going to store in the variable. That's why that's why data type and constants are used sometimes alternatively. Okay, so integer constant, integer data type. Okay, same thing. So each of this, for example, integer data type, usually nowadays, okay, in our days it was taking 2 bytes memory. Nowadays, almost on all machines, integer constant takes 4 bytes of memory. So it will be having range, right? To store maximum number and minimum number. So integer constant, it will take negative values as well as positive values, and it will be having range. Okay. As far as a float constant is concerned, it is the number which contains the decimal point. Then only we call it is the real constant. I mean, and in that case, float and double are the keywords, right? If you don't need to note down all these things, okay, those will be available in your whatever the course is given to you, is going to be given to you. Everything is going to be there. At that time, you can note down in your notebook. Right now, try to understand what I am telling you, right? So, and all details are there. Everything is there. Details, I mean, are there. Okay. So basically, int is the keyword C. Okay, and I'm going to talk about what that keyword is. But float, double, these are basically two types of um, real constants in C, right? Float and double. Okay, int. Then again, there are modifiers. Okay, like int is the data type. It can be a modifier. Modifier can be there. So you can say long int. Okay, when you say long int, the range of that constant is doubled, right? So if integer is going to take 4 bytes, then long integer will take 8 bytes of memory. Obviously, if you want to store a large number, then you go for the long int. Otherwise, there is no point in unnecessarily declaring such a constant which you are not going to store a huge value. So, a declaration of constants is sole responsibility of a programmer. So you are going to decide on the basis of nature of problem whether you will declare integer constant or integer variable or a float variable or a double variable, because double again takes more memory. Okay, and whether you will declare a character. Okay. So character is another kind of a constant. It takes again 1 byte of memory, but nowadays character constant is a Unicode kind of thing. So range is more. Okay. Earlier nowadays character was having only 0 to 255. So 256 different character can be stored. When you declare a character variable, a single character can be stored. Okay. How that is going to be done in the program, while writing program, we can see. So that is basically a constant. Whereas variable we can define it as a named memory location, right? There is a memory in the data segment. Okay. Suppose 4 bytes of memory is given. Okay. Who gives the memory? uh, Even we computer students they do not know. Okay, who gives the memory? Memory is given by operating system. Okay, operating system gives the memory. So when you declare a variable like int x, then 4 bytes of memory on the data segment, okay, is given. Now, data segment is divided into three parts. That is, the stack is there, heap is there, and global and static memory is there. Separate topic is going to be there. So don't worry at all. Okay, even if you have got queries, you can ask me. So on the stack, when you write index on the stack, 4 bytes of memory will be given. Okay, usually 4 bytes of memory, right? So if somebody asks you, okay, how many bytes of memory is given to the integers, right? Then if you answer 4 bytes, that is half true. Okay, the engineer should answer it is compiler or it is platform dependent. Okay, so it depends upon platform. It may happen that somebody is asking about the DOS platform, right? Suppose the Turbo C. If you have got a Turbo C, then integer is going to take 2 bytes of memory, right? If you have got a Windows, you have got a, because Turbo C is a DOS based compiler. Okay, Turbo C is a DOS based compiler. CodeBlock is a Windows based compiler. CodeBlock, there is a version of CodeBlock on the Unix based compiler. Unix based ID is also there, right? So CodeBlock has a different version. You can install it on the Unix platform or the Macintosh platform or the Windows platform. But all these three platforms, CodeBlock gives you 4 bytes of memory for the integer, right? 4 bytes of memory for the float, 8 bytes of memory for the double, 8 bytes of memory for the long integer. Okay, so basically, as we were considering the example of declaration of single variable in text, then 4 bytes of memory is given from the stack region of the data segment. Now, that memory doesn't has to be uh, recognized while storing the contents and retrieving the contents, and that's why the name of that variable is what you give as the index. Okay, so that is the name of that variable. Okay, got that? So variable is entity whose contents can be changed. Okay, got it? variable should be declared as a meaningful variable. Students make lot of mistakes. Okay, they give weird variable names. Even while naming the files, they give weird names. Okay, as an engineer, as I have been telling you again and again, this is foundation. You, if you make a mistake here, whole building won't be strong. Okay, so while giving names to the variables, names to the file, sorry, all those names should be meaningful. In text, it is fine if you are storing something, okay? But if you are writing an application, like suppose you are storing marks of a student, then you should give uh, name of the variable as int marks. That's all. If you are going to find the total of five subjects, okay, marks of five subjects, then name of the variable should be int total or total marks, whatever you feel comfortable. The care should be taken that the variable name should not be too long or too small, right? For rest of the sundry operations, you can give small variables, like suppose a counter variable is there, you can declare as the int I, there is no problem. Okay, but somebody prefer to give name as int count. Okay, that is also good name. Okay, so or a counter valid. Okay, so every programmer has got different style. Okay, what you need to stick is to the convention. Okay, conventions are not rules. Okay, conventions are good programming practice. So when you declare variable, okay, they have said that you should give meaningful variable names. Second important point for the variable naming is that you should not put a space between the variable name. Okay, it should be straight name. Okay, at the most you should use the underscore. Okay, or a digit. So you can say that int marks 1, int marks 2. Okay, that's okay. Okay, and the name of the variable should not start along with digit or special character. Only single special character is allowed in variable name, that is the underscore. No other special character is allowed. Okay, so you should not put a dot. Okay, like you put in the your email address. Okay, you should never put the like at sign, dollar sign. Okay, no special character except underscore. Is that right? Fine. Okay, while writing program, I will show you all these live. Okay, what mistakes are made, how compiler gives an error for the wrong variable name. All this I'm going to. This is just an overview, right? Next, keywords. Keywords are compiler reserved words, right? The meaning is that you should not use this set of reserved words for declaration of a variable, right? So there are somewhere around 48 keywords. In the earlier C, there were 32. Now, as newer versions of languages came into this world, uh, this is 12:10. Okay, like more, I'm going to take more for just 5-10 minutes. Uh, Newer versions of C came into this. New keywords were added, but in char, float, go to, okay, right, while, switch, case, all these are reserved words, right? Next is statement. Okay, so like English, you form the word. Next step is write a sentence, right? So here, once you understand the declaration of variables, declaration of naming the variable, right, using the keyword. So once the next step is to write the statement. So int x, right? It is a now you are writing a statement, right? Or sum is equal to x plus y. Okay, this is a statement, right? On the right hand side, that x plus 5, now it is, we call it is the expression, right? So the next stage ours is writing the statement. The another part is control structures. Okay, roadmap of C. How we are going to develop the program. So first, we should know characters, then constant variables, keywords. Then you write a single statement, then multiple statements. Right. So control structure is a part of a program. In C, there are basically four control structure. The first control structure is the sequential control structure, wherein each statement what you write in the program is guaranteed to be executed. Okay, simple program. Okay, simple life, like simple program. Okay, but is that life so simple? No. Okay, life has got lot of ifs and buts, repetitions are there. Okay, everything is there. So likewise, like life, while writing C program, there could be a situation where you need to take decisions. Okay, and for that we call it is the decision control structure. A separate chapter will be there. Number of programs would be there. Okay, that we will discuss as a second chapter of our curriculum. The third control structure is a loop control structure. If you want to do a certain task repeatedly, right? Then we go for the loop control structure. And the fourth is basically the switch case control structure. Switch case control structure is basically a specialized version of decision control structure. Okay? Specialized version. Okay, it works like a if else, but specialized version, usually applicable for menu driven programming. So whatever menu is there, like no, when you open the word, you have got the menu at the top, right? So that kind of programming can be done using the switch case control structure. And finally, okay, when you combine all these things, what you get at the last is the program, okay, or the code, or in most technical language, mm, you should call it as a source code. The code written by you, the programmer, we call it is the source code, right? Okay, fine. One of the important topic, uh, again, only for 10 minutes I'm going to talk about this. I know because I know that this is just an introduction to the memory model, right? Just introduction. I will refer to this memory throughout the curriculum. Okay, that's why in the very first chapter I am just going to touch. Okay, so each uh, uh, whenever you write program, each language has got its own memory model, right? Why? Because as I told you, when we discussed RAM day before yesterday, we are on the first day. Okay, by the time we reach, we go on adding our new session. Okay, there is a fear that you will forget the past. Okay, and there my animated course is going to help you. Okay, very much there, it is going to help you a lot, because I give you a lot of information. Okay, so memory model, each language has got memory model. So whenever you write the program, that RAM, the complete RAM is not given to your program. Okay, small part of RAM is allocated by operating system to you. Okay, to the programmer. Like by suppose you have got 10,000 rupees in your home, okay, and you ask father or mother, whoever is there, okay, your guardian. I mean, and if you ask him or her, your guardian, I'm going outside, okay, to meet my friend, okay, give some cash, okay. So your father or mother or whoever guardian is, he will give you some lump sum cash like 50 rupees, 100 rupees, 500 rupees, and so on. He doesn't give you full whatever I mean 10,000 or 50,000. do they give you? No, they don't give you like that, right? So that how that father decides or mother decides, okay, there is no communication between you and father. I mean, direct communication is not there. You do not ask for, sir, no, mother, give me 500 rupees, okay, give me 1,000 rupees, okay. You just sometimes, okay, sometimes, or even though you go for the market, for getting some vegetables from the market, okay, so your mother or father gives you, okay, take this, okay. So you don't ask for tentatively, okay, lump sum amount they give you 50 rupees note, 100 rupees note. But because how much you need when you go to the vegetable market? At the most 200 rupees, right? So what I mean here, giving you real life examples only because you remember and understand the concepts of C language. So operating system gives a small chunk of that on the RAM to your program. Okay, and your program resides on that small chunk. Okay, and that chunk is called code segment. Got that? But that only chunk is not. I mean, that only chunk is not sufficient, right? Only chunk. Like no, you go to the swimming pool. Okay, what will happen if you don't have apart from that swimming pool, you don't have that restroom or changing room and nothing is there, okay, so it doesn't work, no, it doesn't work. So when you go to the swimming tank, apart from swimming tank, a lot of things are there around that, right? Restroom is there, washroom is there, and no sitting room is there. A lot of things are there. Similarly, for the code segment is given, and inside the code you declare a lot of variables, my friends, right? So for that variable, separate memory is given, which we call it is the data segment, right? Data segment. Now, both of these two are given by the operating system. Okay. Now it depends because memory models are, as far as C language is concerned, there are different memory models. There is a huge memory model, there is a small memory model, there is a tiny memory model, right? So six different memory models are there, and depending upon that, uh, now as far as our programs are concerned, small memory model is sufficient because there is a one data segment and one code segment, and you can write I mean 5,000 lines of code. So as far as rest of the models are concerned, we are not going to we are not going to concern about that, okay. But but this is given, these segments are given by operating system to you. Okay, you will be in possession of them till program finishes. Okay, you close the program. Okay? Rather, you close that application, you close that turbo C, you close that code block. Okay, so once you close that, operating system will take that memory. Okay, in its possession, right? So from that code segment and data segment, the data segment has got three different parts. Okay, the one is a global and static memory. Okay, the uh, and global and static memory is a single, right? Uh, what you can say, single term. Okay, so it has got again two partitions. One is initialize variables and another is uninitialized variable. Okay, again I am repeating you, this is just introduction. Okay, detail I am going to talk later because this is not the right time to talk detail on this. So one more part of that data segment is stack, right? So there is I hope you can see this. This is a code segment, right? This is a data segment, right? Pictorial representation. Now, in the data segment, there are separate divisions, right? Separate blocks. One of that is global and static, another is the stack, right? Stack is a area where whichever variables you declared inside a function, all these variables is given memory in the stack, right? So you declare a single variable, you declare an array, whatever you do, whatever declare variable you declare variable, the memory is given on the stack. The third part of that data segment is the heap. Okay? HEAP. Heap is usually sandwich between stack and the global and static memory. It is sandwich. Okay? And heap, no, um, heap is used for dynamic memory allocation. What do I mean? When you write normal programs, the memory is confirmed. What I mean, memory is given at the compile time, right? And sometimes it may happen that you need memory at the runtime. When you execute the program, you are in need of more memory. Okay, and there the heap comes into the picture. Okay, so memory taken from the heap is uh, called as a dynamic memory allocation. Separate chapter detail is going to be there. Programs would be there. Okay, very interesting topic. I like this topic. Okay, and you are going to master this topic. I mean, I'm sure, damn sure. Okay, so that we call it is the heap. Then another is executable code. Okay, so when you write the program, execute this. Another file is there, right? So you need a memory. Okay, so that is a different memory, and that is a part of that code segment, right? And constants and read-only data. Some variables are special variables. This is not taught anywhere. Okay, anywhere. So constant, I mean, even on the internet you may find, you will not find all these details if you go through the uh, free videos on the YouTube. Okay, this is not done. So constants and read only data, some of the variables are there. We are going to declare such variables where these are not in the stack, right? These are not on the heap. These are not in the global and static, but different area is there that we call it the constants and read-only data. It's a very interesting part. Okay, so I'm going to stop. It is 12:23. So we'll stop here. Question time. So we can ask questions. Ravi, your question is good. Good question, Ravi. Ravi, your question is, we also have to make notes so that whenever we want to, we can go through it. So, will you give the materials like PPT to prepare it as I feel it necessary to be done? Yes. But yes to what? I'm not going to give you PPT. Okay. PPT is just points. Okay. It won't help you, man. Right? But I know from today I'm going to take lot and going to give you enormous information, and for any student it is not possible to retain all these things in your brain. So Ravi and rest of my friends, uh, uh, the course, animated course you are going to get, it has got everything. I mean, it has got everything beyond your imagination. Okay, so you can take notes from that animated course. Okay, that is my suggestion. Okay, and even after that, if you face problems, I am here for next 50 sessions. Right? So these kind of PPTs, enormous PPTs are there on the internet and everywhere. Okay, as far as this is concerned, you will get that as a recorded session. But more than this, the sessions I am going to give you once you make a, today is the day to make your remaining payment. Within a half an hour you will be given that course. And in that course, and we are going to follow that methodology, right? I'm going to tell you, uh, this session is has been taught now, as a part of your homework, as a part of revision, as a part of more understanding, as part of creating curiosity in your mind. Go and today, before next day session, refer these topics. I'm going to tell you. Okay, refer these topic so that it will be revision for you. Okay, for better understanding. That is the way you are going to become master. It is not that much easy to master the subject, but my methodology is going to help you 100%. So no worries, Ravi. Leave it to me. Leave your worries to me. That's why you have come here, right? Fine. Okay. Please, any other questions? Ravi, are you satisfied along with my? I mean, are you satisfied along with my answer? I mean, you are asking for notes or PPTs. Okay, this I will give you. No problem. Okay, don't worry at all about that. But are you satisfied? More questions, please. Friends, more questions, please. Yes, one more question. Sir, what is cross-platform in context to see as I came across this? Cross-platform. Okay, good question, Ravi. What is the cross platform in context to see as I came across this? Yes, first of all, let's dissect this. Okay, I have explained you what is the platform, right? Prefix is there, cross platform. Okay, so you write application on one OS, right? You write application for one OS, and you are going to either run it or along with other machine having separate OS. Okay, in that case, situations arise, right? When you need to write a code so that it can be executed, uh, it can be executed such that intercomputer communication is possible. Okay, that is a cross-platform application. Okay, that is a cross-platform. Uh, First, you write the program on this. The program communicates along with the other machine. Okay, that is a cross-platform. Usually, applications, what we call is inter-process communication, and when you write some applications which are executed on the network in the network environment, then cross-platform applications are uh, we call these applications as a cross-platform application. If you, I don't know whether you have heard this or not, but I'm talking story about 10 years back. Infosys had developed a bank application, right, exclusively only in C language. Okay, a story about not 10 years, almost 20 years back. Okay, when I started my teaching career, at that time each bank was having that application. Okay, which was developed by Infosys. There were no other company was there, and that whole application was written in C. So that was a cross-platform. Why? Because each of that bank, uh, see, Infosys is a software development company. They do not know what that end user, what kind of operating system that bank is going to have. Suppose the bank is then different branches of bank again may have different operating systems, right? So they need to write a generic code, okay, a cross-platform code, so that it can be executed anywhere on each machine, and so that transaction made on one computer is visible on another computer. Okay, so at that time they had written that the whole, I mean, million section of code was written by engineers in the Infosys, right? So that is actually the cross platform application. The question is good, really. Thank you. Okay, any other question, or can we stop? On your WhatsApp. I'm going to share the link to make a payment by evening. Clear the payment. Repeat. I'm repeating. Clear your remaining payment. I'm going to share the link. Okay. As soon as you make the payment, I come to know immediately. But if you can send me message as well, sir. I have paid remaining amount, and allocate me the course. Okay, uh, at the most I commit within half an hour. You will be allocated course. You will be sent a course link along with username and password, right? And then you can change your password. You want lexical variable scope. I haven't heard this. I know what is the lexical, but I will tell you. Might be the term is only complex, but meaning might be I might be knowing that along with different term. So tomorrow I will come along with this. Okay. Thank you for the question. Okay, and I will explain you definitely because whenever I explain any concept, right? Uh, I first try to convert it into most simplified way. Then only I will explain. Right? Thank you. Yesterday you had a question. Somebody had a question, asked question about framework. Probably Ravi or Rakesh had asked. I don't remember. But today I have sent you. Today I have given you that handout. Okay. So you will find that in the handouts framework, right? So go through that. It is interesting. This thing. So you will be provided various resources in a compact manner as and when you go on asking questions, because I want all these sessions to be interactive, right? Not just one-sided. I come here, bombard maybe too much information, and you go to your home, you go to your other activities, right? So can we stop? You had asked this question, right? Lexical variable scope. Okay. I will come along with answer tomorrow. Okay. I haven't heard this, but maybe a lot of things are there. So, friends, just type Y. Can we stop? Or are there any further questions or any query, general query or general opinion? or suggestion for your friend. If you want to give some suggestion to me, you can. My original idea was to conduct a 1 hour a day, but last 3 days we have stretched that almost beyond 1.5 hour. One question, my friends. Can everybody come tomorrow at 10 o'clock? Is it possible? Can everybody come tomorrow online at 10 o'clock? Is it possible? Okay, it is not possible for one student. Okay, no problem. If it is not possible for one student, then we will meet at 11. Okay, fine. Because such decisions I will take only when it is accepted by all. Okay, even if only one doesn't accept, we won't change our schedule. We will meet tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Fine. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm closing the session. Have a nice day.